If you've ever felt like you're living a life that wasn't quite yours or carrying burdens you didn't choose, then you're in the right place. I'm Barbie Wolf, and this is Unboxing Barbie, the podcast for cycle breakers and comrades with our boots on the ground. It's a space for honest conversations about healing, faith reconstruction, and becoming who we were always meant to be. Let's unpack some things together. Hey, comrades, I have to be honest with you. I'm exhausted in so many ways. After the house emptied this morning, I was just feeling completely void of any F's to give. Do you know the feeling? This morning, though, in the middle of it all, I was listening to a Marco Polo from a friend, and she was celebrating with me about catching herself shooting all over herself. And she was really doing some beautiful self reflection and just analyzing her choices and her input and her own self judgment. And it hit me so hard. I do it so often, compare myself with who I am today against who I should be, sometimes based on a version of me that doesn't exist anymore. My calendar, for example, for the first half of today, literally had one word on it: recover. And I found myself staring at that word thinking, what does this even mean? I feel judgment often at myself for my choices. I'm either pushing myself too hard to make all of this work, or I'm letting my body rest and then I'm giving myself a hard time for resting. I am never happy with what my body is doing in any given moment. Rarely happy, I should say. It's really easy for me to feel like I'm being a bum when I compare myself to the me who used to function straight out of trauma. The me who ran a choir from a wheelchair after knee surgery and who had just accepted guardianship of my 9-month-old grandson. A human who went to work and sang on worship teams with migraines for most of my life just because I felt like I had to be superhuman. Sometimes I did have to be. I was a single mother. But that version of me just kept doing it all. And this morning, I came out to my greenhouse and to do my Bible study, and I just had nothing. I sat down, opened my Bible, and I said out loud, really just to God, but to nobody in particular, God, I feel so empty on so many levels. And I had been in this exact portion of scripture about a year ago today, about a year ago, the same time. And I got something completely different out of it today. Here, I was reading a story that I had read hundreds of times in the past. In the middle of all the emptiness, I'm sitting here and I reread this story, a story I have read 100 times. It's the first miracle of Jesus at the wedding of Cana. And this one little sentence just jumped off the page. For those of you who want to look it up, it's in John chapter 2, it's verse 6, and I underlined the words that said, "Now 6 stone jars had been set there for the Jewish rites of purification." I felt like God whispered right there, let's unbox that. 6 stone water jars. It sounds like a random detail, but it's not insignificant. There were 6 of them. And if I have my facts right, in the Bible, 7 is the number of divine completion, of wholeness. So 6 is the number of humanity, of imperfection, of almost but not quite. It's a signal that this system is incomplete. They were made of stone, not clay. Stone jars were the best of the best. They could not become ritually unclean. They were the symbols of the religious system at its most rigid. It's most durable. And their whole performance was for purification, for the water of the ritual, for the external performance of being clean. They were the physical embodiment of a whole system of shoulds. And can you just imagine the scene? The moment Jesus gestures towards those jars, the air must have gone thick with judgment. I can almost hear the whispers, the sideways glances from the religious rule keepers in the room. He shouldn't be touching those sacred vessels. He should know better than to interfere. They should have planned better so the embarrassment wouldn't happen. The whole system was designed to keep things in their proper clean boxes. So the party runs out of wine. The joy is gone. And what does Jesus do? He takes those 6 jars, these symbols of an incomplete human-run system of performance and obligation, and he tells the servants to fill them with water. And then he turns that water into the best wine. He didn't smash the jars. He didn't condemn them. He took the very best that the old system had to offer, and he fulfilled it. He transformed the water of ritual into the wine of joyous celebration. And as I sat there in my favorite spot among my planty friends, feeling so empty, it hit me. I was the 6 stone jars. The overfunctioning, trauma surviving, never stopping me, that was my vessel for survival. It was made of stone because I couldn't afford to break. And its purpose was to present a clean, functioning version of me to the world, no matter what was happening inside. I was judging my current season of wine, this season of rest, of recovery, of needing help, by the standards of my old season of water. And I just felt this question bubble up in my heart. This question that I think Jesus might be posing to all of us who are so tired. I think he looks at those stone hard parts of us, the ones we built to survive, and he gently asks, "May I have them? I want to fill them with wine." Now here's my and, because if you know me, you know there's always an and. Some shoulds are good. A life without any shoulds is a life without values or integrity. The work is in learning to tell the difference. But I think if I'm honest, most of the time the word itself, should, feels heavy. It feels heavy. It lands on us with the weight of expectation. And there's a very real reason for that. For all of you beautiful people who are therapists, doctors, or even just students of the human mind listening, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. In the world of therapy, specifically in CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy, should statements are identified as primary cognitive distortion. Think of it like a glitch in our thinking that directly creates anxiety, guilt, and depression. Why? Because that kind of should, the one we use most of the time, is a tool of judgment. It's a measuring stick that automatically creates a gap between our reality and some idealized standard. I am here, but I should be here. And that gap is where shame and burnout live. But what if we can change that? I do believe that we can reclaim that powerful vessel of a word. I've come to believe that anytime I hear myself say I should, it's not a command, it's an invitation. It's like a little alarm bell from my soul to pause and get curious. It's like an invitation to ask one simple question. Is this should a compass or a goad? A goad is what the cognitive distortion describes. It pokes you from behind. It's driven by fear and shame and probably the avoidance of pain. It says, you should do this or else. That's the water should. It's the voice of the stone jars demanding performance. A compass, on the other hand, pulls you forward. It's not about judgment, it's about alignment. It's drawn by your own internal sense of rightness, your own deepest values, your own loving heart. It says, I should do this because it's who I am. That is the wine should. That is the language of integrity. And we have to remember, even the goads had a purpose once. Those old water shoulds, our old coping mechanisms, they were lifesavers. The rule to never show weakness was a goad that kept us safe in a season where vulnerability was not an option. So when the invitation arrives, when you hear the word should come out of your own mouth, maybe get curious. You could ask, is this a compass or a goad? Whose voice is this? Is it my own wise, loving voice? Or is it an echo from the past? How does this feel in my body? Does it make me tense up? Or does it feel like a deep and quiet yes? And if it feels like a goad, we can ask with compassion, something like, was there a time when this should kept me safe? And if the answer is yes, can I thank it for its service? And then ask, does this still serve the person I am becoming today? This is the work of reparenting. Honoring the child who survived while lovingly updating the operating system for the adult who deserves to thrive. This brings me to one last story in the Bible, and it's Jacob. He's on the run, he's scared and alone, and he sleeps with a rock for a pillow under the stars. It's a hard, uncomfortable place. But that night, he has a dream of God, a promise of presence. And when he wakes up, he takes that very stone, the object which, while serving a purpose, was a substitute that brought discomfort, and he sets it up as a pillar or an altar. He marks the spot and calls it Bethel, the house of God. He turns the stone pillow into a pillar. And that's, I think, what we can do with our shoulds. When we come up against one of those hard, uncomfortable water shoulds, we can wrestle with it. We can run it through those questions. And in that struggle, we can have our own Bethel moment. We can realize that God is right here in this messy, uncomfortable feeling. And then we have a choice. We can kick the stone aside and keep running. Or we can do what Jacob did. We can set it up as a pillar. We can make a conscious choice. We can say, this should no longer serves me, and I'm setting it down right here as a memorial to my healing. Or this is a wine should, and I'm setting it up as a landmark to guide my way home to myself. This is how we stop just arbitrarily passing by the same struggles over and over. We build our Bethels. We mark the holy ground of our own healing. We do. Not some other person, some other standard, or some other version of ourselves. We do. So, today, comrade, if you're feeling empty, if you're wrestling with a should, maybe the invitation isn't to try harder. Maybe it's just to notice the stone jars and to listen for that gentle question. May I have them? I want to fill them with wine. Or maybe when you see the hard pillow, to hear him say, remember that dream I gave you while you rested your head on that rock? Keep your gaze and your gait aligned and in sync with me and keep going. Thank you. Thank you for unboxing this with me today. It has refueled me more than I can even communicate. I'm so thankful from the bottom of my heart that you're here sharing this space with me. I love being on this journey with you. Now, go be gentle with yourself. And until next time, carry on, comrade. I love you.